Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you've joined me. This is Marisa with Learn and Be Well, and I help busy moms learn tools to fill their cups so they can avoid burnout. And I am so glad to be here this Monday morning. We just had a birthday in my family. My oldest turned 19, and my little guy will be turning 8 this coming weekend. So lots of fun things going on in my house. What's going on in your world? And then today I realized that I could graduate my second child 9 months early. I don't know if we're going to do that. There are advantages to not graduating her, so we might just not do it, but I just realized this weekend that I could if I wanted to. Anyway, I threw it out to her and she kind of looked at me like, seriously? I don't know. What would you do in my situation? Would you graduate your kid early, or would you let them continue doing dual enrollment? So they're still doing the college work, but it's at a cheaper price. Let me know. I'd love to know your opinion on that one. Anyway, if you're brand new to Stories from Sensei, I would love it if you would let me know. Just say new below. And if you've tuned in before, let me know. How are you liking this series? Is this something that lifts you up every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific? Is it worth me doing this? Let me know what you thought so far, and if there's any stories that you have heard that are super inspirational to you, feel free to send me a message, voice send it to me. It might show up on Stories from Sensei. Anyway, as you're hopping on, be sure you say hi. Let me know you're here. And if you are new to Stories from Sensei, let me just tell you what this is. So I spent many years training in karate, and during that time, my sensei taught me many stories, and they always uplifted me. They always helped me get a different perspective on things. They helped me through some very hard times. And when I was taking my black belt exam, I had to write an essay about karate, and I had to write an essay about the impact it had had on my life. And the essay I wrote was actually about the stories, because I love the karate, but at the same time, those stories made such an impact. They helped me in parenting. They helped me in everyday life. They helped me in dealing with my friends and all the things. So stories are so important to me, and that's why I share them with you. I always made sure that I took time to teach my students. When I was teaching karate, that I would teach my students the stories as well, because I find them so valuable. So I am super excited to share today's story. I had forgotten all about it until I came across it in this book that I'm reading called The Hero's Journey. And the story was in this book, and I had actually heard it originally from Sensei, and it was one that I always thought was so beautiful. And so this is the one I'm going to share to you today. Hey, Christine, so glad to see you here. Let me know, are you new to Stories from Sensei, or have you been enjoying them thus far? All right, so the story goes like this. Once upon a time, there was an emperor in China, and this emperor, he had been ruling for a long time, and he was much loved of his people, and he was very, very wise. He didn't have a successor, though. He had no children, and so there was much concern in the court about what would be done when he passed away, because he was getting older. And he thought for a while, and he thought, I know what I will do. And so he called all of his subjects to him, and he had a grand event and showed them all his beautiful flower garden. This emperor loved beautiful flowers, and he had the most exotic ones all throughout his gardens. And so as he walked among the people, he handed every single one a seed, and he asked the people, take this seed home and plant it, and in 6 months' time, bring back what you grew. All the people left with their seeds, and they took them home and they planted their seeds. Now, among this group was a certain young man, and this young man loved gardening, and he was very good at gardening, and he planted that seed, and he was from a very humble home. They didn't have much money for food, but he had a lot of care in his heart. And so he planted that seed, and every day he watered it. He talked to it, and he loved on it, and nothing happened. And he thought, well, that's odd. I know I'm really good at planting things and growing things. Just look at my garden I've been growing to feed my family. So he dug up that seed and he put it in his favorite pot. And he watered it and he cared for it. And he put it in the warm sun and he talked to it and nothing happened. Well, he did this every day for 6 months. He worked so hard trying to get this seed to grow. And alas, nothing happened. Well, on the appointed day, he picked up his pot with that seed planted in it, and he started down the road toward the emperor's palace. Along the way, he saw many people carrying big pots and little bitty pots and all manner of sizes of pots. And there were beautiful flowers and sometimes trees, and sometimes there were sometimes bushes, and there was all these different plants. And he thought, I've got a pot of dirt. And as he met with his friends on the road, some of them started laughing at him, going, you're taking that to the emperor? You gotta be joking. Look at my awesome flower. And he started to kind of crumble inside. And he thought, I know I did everything I could. What is going on here? And he felt so bad. And as he got there, all the people were in the garden ready to present the pots. And so one by one, they walked up to the emperor. And the emperor nodded and said, thank you. Beautiful flowers, the most rare, beautiful flowers you'd ever seen. And every time the emperor nodded and said, thank you. And finally, he was the last one left, this young man. And he sheepishly carried the pot up. And he said, sir, I'm sorry I've disgraced you. I planted that seed and I have watered it and cared for it and put it in the sun. I've tried different pots. I've tried different dirt. I've tried different fertilizer and nothing has grown and I'm a failure and I have dishonored you. I'm sorry. And the emperor quietly smiled and invited him to step up further and closer. And the emperor put his arm around this boy and the boy's going, what did I do? Wow, this is a little weird. And the emperor said very quietly, you shall be my successor. And now the young boy is going, what's going on? And the emperor loudly said, attention all, I want you to see this pot that is nothing but dirt. This is the only one among you. This young man is the only one among you who has the integrity to bring forth what he actually grew. You see, I had every single one of those seeds boiled before I gave them to you, and nothing could grow. All of you have deceived, but he was honorable. And that is the mark of a true leader, and therefore he will succeed me to the throne. And that is the end of my story. Wow. How hard must it have been for this young person to take that empty pot to the emperor? How much fear must this young person have had? Can you imagine? What would you have done? Would you have felt confident in carrying that pot? How hard is it for you to go against the crowd? I know sometimes I feel inferior because I'm going against the crowd. I don't know how much, you know how well you know me, but back in the day when I was having my babies, I had home births. I eat natural food. 100% of the time? No. But most of the time. And I make decisions. I homeschool my kids, and I've thought sometimes it'd be so much easier just to do it the way that everybody else does. But I promise you that marching to somebody else's drum doesn't work very well. And so I continue on my own path because I know that that's what's actually going to bring me joy. But sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes I get really frustrated in that space and I feel inferior because my path looks different than others. Have you ever done what you know you need to do and then still felt like a failure? I have. I've done it many times. So my challenge for you this week, is to make a list. What are your always will do's and what are your never will do's? What drives you with integrity? Because when you show up in your integritous space, when you show up as you, it matters. And even though that path is not always easy, it's the best one for you. And you won't fight that imposter syndrome when you're showing up in your authentic self. I hope this story was helpful to you, and I hope it inspired you, and I hope it helps you this next week. Remember to nourish yourself inside and out so that you can fill your cup and avoid burnout and feel better about yourself and your life. I love you. Please share this with your friends. Have an amazing day.